Hello, I'm Rosa Hawkins. Welcome to World Have Your Say, live from Soweto as South Africa and the rest of the world pays tribute to Nelson Mandela. Here on Vilakazi Street, possibly the most famous street in Soweto, where Mr. Mandela lived for many years, all day long since sunrise and before, there have been crowds of his supporters, ANC colleagues turning out, and you can just see behind me, right by the house where he used to live, a small brick house with a iron terracotta roof. These crowds have been gathered, singing, dancing, toy-toying as South Africans say, part dancing, part walking, and all the while celebrating a man who changed every one of their lives. And actually in the last hour or so, the ANC has parked a lorry just down here and have transformed it into a platform. There's a podium on which several speakers are expected to stand up in a little while. In the meantime, the sound system has been playing and lots of people have been lining up and dancing and again celebrating. And when you say to people, where are the tears, why so many smiles, they say the tears will come, the serious mourning will come when his funeral arrives next Sunday. But for today, it's about celebrating a life which was extraordinary by any measure. And if we're in any doubt of the sacrifices that Mr. Mandela and many here in Soweto made, if you look at the front of his house down there, you can still see the bullet holes on the wall showing exactly the kind of pressure he was under and many others were under from the police as they tried to maintain the racist apartheid system. This is World Have Your Say. Hello, I'm Rosa Hawkins. Here in South Africa, the many events to mark Nelson Mandela's passing continue. Here in Soweto, there have been prayers and songs and dancing all day long, as you can probably hear behind me. And the same has been true in the northern suburb of Johannesburg called Houghton, where Mr. Mandela lived in the last years of his life. The BBC's Mike Waldridge reports.
Many have chosen to pay their homage to Nelson Mandela here, outside his home in the Johannesburg suburb of Houghton, in truly South African style. This leafy, normally quiet residential area was used to having the prisoner turned president, more recently the world's most revered elder statesman, in its midst. But today, with Nelson Mandela no longer among Houghton's people, it was so different. This place and those who flocked here have set the national mood of mourning.
No, it's a sad day in South Africa, I must say. We've lost a great role model. We've really, but I think the greatest thing is that at least his legacy, will live on.
It's a pretty sad day. I mean, we're lucky to be in an era where there's been such a great man who had so much forgiveness and compassion.
His death came very late in the evening here, but South Africans awoke to newspaper headlines and front pages that sought to do justice to this painful watershed time in the history of the nation. President Jacob Zuma announced what he called the moment of our deepest sorrow.
Our nation has lost its greatest son. Our people have lost a father. Although we knew that this day would come, nothing can diminish our sense of a profound and enduring loss.
South Africa appears to be unifying in sorrow, in itself a reflection of the reconciliation that Nelson Mandela sought so hard to bring about in this nation where racial division was more entrenched and institutionalized than any other. There has been remarkable change in places like Soweto, but it is a goal yet to be fully achieved.
Gave hope to the world.
Nelson Mandela's fellow Nobel Peace Laureate, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, led a service of thanks in Cape Town's St George's Cathedral, so often a focus for protest and mourning during the days of apartheid.
God, thank you for the gift of Madiba. Thank you for what he has enabled us to know we can become.
And from the last white president, F.W. de Klerk, the man who freed Nelson Mandela in 1990 and negotiated often tortuously the new South Africa with him, this tribute.
He was a great man. He was a very special man. I think his greatest legacy to South Africa and to the world is the emphasis which he has always put on the need for reconciliation.
Many mourning publicly today speak of celebrating the life of a legend, but of a very personal loss too, especially those who believed he brought them chances in life they'd been denied and thought they might never have. South Africa will now discover the influence of his legacy rather than of his physical presence, which seemed to offer hope to so many, however little they'd actually seen of him in the final years of his life.
Well, we heard in Mike Waldridge's report there part of the address which Jacob Zuma made to the nation late in the evening on Thursday. A few hours ago, on Friday afternoon, he addressed South Africans again with details of when Nelson Mandela's funeral would be held.
We will spend the week mourning his passing. We will also spend it celebrating a life well lived, a life that we must all emulate.
Well, over the next hour on World Have Your Say, we're going to be hearing reaction to Nelson Mandela's death from around the world. If you're watching and would like to send your message, you can use the hashtag WHYS. All the contact details will be on the screen as we broadcast live here from Soweto. And the house right next to where Nelson Mandela lived is now lived in by Rosalind, who's here with me on World Have Your Say. Rosalind, thank you very much for coming to see us.
Thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking on behalf of my family, the Ndlovu family. We've got such a good relationship with the Mandela family. From the time my parents and my uncles and them, they were growing up, they grew together with the children of Mandela's. So they are a family friend of ours, very close.
And you've got a beautiful framed photo here. Is this your grandmother and your grandfather with Madiba?
Yes, this was about a month to 2 months after his release. He obviously came to my house first because of the relationship that he had with my grandparents at the time.
And what did they tell you about him? What kind of a man was he to live next door to?
From what I know, my grandmother always emphasized on the fact that he's a good man. He's always, he was always laughing with his neighbors. He was always a respectable person, and he fought to be where we are today. And thanks to him, that we're now living in a democracy thanks to him. So we're very grateful to Tata Madiba for all his hard work.
Well, Rosalind, thank you very much for coming to show us that picture. That's absolutely fantastic. That's one of Nelson Mandela's neighbours from a few years back, Rosalind. And if you go into the house, which is now a museum, you can see it right behind me here, there's a sign explaining that when Mr. Mandela came under pressure from the police and perhaps they would fire at his house, he would go into the kitchen because the walls were thickest. And if you lay on the floor there, that reduced the chances of him being hit by bullets. Well, let's bring in a couple more guests to speak about Mr. Mandela, starting with Willie, who's a DJ in Cape Town and joins us live here on the BBC. Willie, what would you like to say?
I just want to say that I'm ever grateful to Madiba for doing what he has done. Because of his sacrifices and his struggles, I'm allowed to study wherever I want to. I'm allowed to realize my dream, which is being a DJ and DJing wherever I want in South Africa. So the possibilities that he has created for me and for my generation and for the generations to come, we are forever indebted to Madiba for what he's done.
And do you think that the so-called born frees, the South Africans who were born after the beginning of democracy in '94, appreciate exactly what he went through for South Africans?
I think they do because their parents and would have told them about the struggles that they've gone through and how fortunate they are to be living in the society and the democracy that we have at the moment. So I think they would definitely appreciate the struggles and the sacrifices that Madiba has done for them.
Willie, thank you very much for joining us on World Have Your Say. Let's shift from you to Daniel, who's with us live from the UK. Daniel, do go ahead.
Hi there. Yes, and it was about 94, 95 when I was walking to work one day in the Houghton area where Nelson Mandela lived, and I happened to bump into him. I think he was out walking his grandchildren, and he took the time to speak to me for about 10 minutes. Wanted to find out about me, where I was going. I was actually on my way to work. I was in school at the time as well, but I had an evening job. And he just told me that it made him really proud to see a school child working, and he kind of shared similar experiences that when he was younger, he had quite a struggle to walk long distances and stuff. So he kind of related to my story quite well. It was really nice.
It's quite something that he would walk to school with you.
Well, he wasn't walking to school with me, but he was out walking, and I happened to encounter him on the street, and he just took the time to stop me and find out where I was going and spend 10 minutes talking to me.
Thank you very much for your time, Daniel. Thanks for joining us on this special edition of World Have Your Say, live from Soweto. If you can hear the music in the background, in fact, Lebu, who's just next to me, is moving alongside. Some people might be surprised that a lot of the pictures we've seen from Soweto feature lots of people dancing and singing, and some with many big smiles on their faces. Just explain that to our viewers around the world.
You know, we Africans, when we are sad, we sing, we dance. When we are happy, we sing and dance. So this is what we normally do. We mourn the death of Nelson Mandela. However, we do it in dance. But we are celebrating, the most important thing is that we are celebrating his life, and we are saying, thank you, Tata. Thank you for doing what you have done for us, and we will soldier on. We will just carry the sword and carry on and teach our future generation about the history of the liberation, and so that we can carry on the work that we have done.
David, stay with us. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about your memories of when Mr. Mandela was released. And as you were talking, actually, I saw a gentleman just behind you standing on a bollard, dancing on his own, just getting into the music, most of which has been by Brenda Fassie, the late South African singer who's still revered here in Soweto. I'll remind you, if you want to upload video messages which will broadcast around the world, you can do that at worldhaveyoursay.com. We're going to start playing some of those in just a moment. We'll also talk with Lebo and some of the others who are joining us here in Soweto.
About it. Let me say something.
Hi, I'm Rosa Hawkins. Welcome to a special edition of World Have Your Say, broadcasting live from Soweto, just a few yards up the road from where Nelson Mandela lived for many years. And of course there are tributes pouring in, not just in this southwest township of Johannesburg, as Soweto is called, but also from around the world. And we'll hear more of those at worldhaveyoursay.com in a minute. But first of all, let's just carry on talking with Lebu, because it's striking. Lots of people in Soweto were born when Mr. Mandela was on Robben Island. They never knew if he would come back. Yeah. And then in 1990 he was released. What are your memories of that?
What I remember vividly was that it was announced when I was studying at the University of Western Cape that he's coming, and when he's released, he's chosen Cape Town as a place where he's going to be giving his first speech. So the trains were free. I remember that the trains were free. We were so overwhelmed. Me in particular, I was lost for words. I didn't know how to explain the feeling, but it was so nice. We were so happy that we went to Cape Town, and then when we went to Cape Town, we saw him there, and it was magic. It was amazing.
And as you're talking, and I should point this out to those of you watching, all day long, small groups of people, many decked out in the green, yellow and black of the ANC, have gone down Vilakazi Street, singing, dancing and celebrating Mr. Mandela's life. Now, I was mentioning that lots of you have been uploading videos for us to play. Let's see this one from Dogo in Uganda.
Hi, my name is Dogo Singh. I live and work in Uganda. The death of Mr. Mandela was a shock to everybody, including myself. I was really saddened. My condolences goes to the family of Mr. Mandela and the people of South Africa. I also picked a few lessons, and I hope everybody picked a few lessons from from his life. The most important thing is for each one of us to stamp out injustice, to stamp out racism, that we need to know that these things actually sort of hinders development, but it also hinders how we think as a humanity. And we need to understand that every human being has a place on this earth.
Doggo, thank you very much for uploading that video. Now, I must tell you, one of the striking things being here in Soweto today is how many people have passed by to pay their tributes to Mr. Mandela. I met one man whose work Christmas party had been cancelled so everyone could come here to Vilakazi Street. I met a white family from the northern suburbs of Johannesburg who had just driven down here to be amongst the crowd. And someone who has just passed our broadcast point and has very kindly agreed to speak to us is the Mayor of Johannesburg, Parks Tau. Mayor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
A terribly sad day for South Africans.
It's a terribly sad day. As a country, as a people, we mourn the passing away of our leader, icon, and world-renowned statesman, Mr. Nelson Mandela. He was also awarded the Freeman of the City of Johannesburg, and as a city and the people of the City of Johannesburg would wish to send our heartfelt condolences to the family, but also to say that as a people we celebrate his life, a life well led, a life of commitment to his people and to the people of the world.
And let's talk about this city, because while he grew up in the Eastern Cape, actually he rejected what his parents had in mind and decided to come to the big smoke, to Johannesburg, and he was an ambitious law student and an ambitious lawyer, and he had a real connection with this city, didn't he?
He had a great connection with the City of Johannesburg. This was his second home. This is where he's celebrated a lot of his life. He's had homes here. In fact, here in Orlando West, he lived down the road here on Vilakazi Street, but he also lived immediately after his release some 200 meters away from here before he moved to Houghton and found home in Johannesburg, and it is a city that has created him as an icon that we can celebrate, for it is in this city that he was able to express his talent, his ambition, but also to express his political opinions.
And what about your country? Because some of our viewers have asked, now Mr. Mandela is sadly gone, will South Africa lack leadership? Will they lack a father figure to guide them through what remain challenging times?
Nelson Mandela and his generation of leaders of this country and of the African National Congress have left a legacy of a commitment to build this country into a truly non-racial, non-sexist, prosperous and democratic country for all. It is a legacy that we all are obliged to live with, and it's a legacy that we need to continue to pursue, to build this into a truly united nation that is able to say we owe to Nelson Mandela, to Oliver Tambo, to Walter Sisulu, building a country for which they made the great sacrifice in their lives.
Mayor, thank you for speaking to us. It's been a busy day here on Vilakazi Street. What are you going to be doing now you've spoken to us?
Thank you very much. We will be joining the crowd. We'll be having essentially statements from the City of Johannesburg, from the ANC in Johannesburg, but also different organizations that have come here to commemorate. We will be coming here every single day in Johannesburg to commemorate and celebrate the life of Nelson Mandela.
Mayor Tau, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. That's Mayor Tau, the Mayor of Johannesburg, live here on World Have Your Say. Now let's bring in Carla, who is live with us from Cape Town, works in advertising. Carla, share with us your emotions today.
I spoke to you guys earlier today, and you guys asked me what Nelson Mandela meant for me as a human being. I think Mandela was not just a freedom fighter for me as a South African citizen. He was the best friend that I actually never got to meet. He was an example of how to live my life. He was my passion to make this country a better place for all, and a remarkable father figure to all of us. We are all extremely sad on this day, and we mourn the irreplaceable human and know that his legacy will live on forever. I will share his story with my children one day as one of our biggest heroes of all time. I'm honored to be part of this country that Tiber walked on, and I will always have him in my heart and in my thoughts. That's it.
Carla, thank you. Carla, thank you very much indeed for speaking to me. And it's striking when you talk to people here in Soweto, people don't just mourn a leader of South Africa, they mourn someone who they feel has changed their lives. Every South African will tell you a story about how Nelson Mandela inspired them to do something or created an opportunity that they otherwise wouldn't have had. Now let's see another of the videos that you've been uploading through worldhaveyoursay.com. This is from another Carla, not the same person we've just spoken to, a Brazilian living in Denmark.
Hello, BBC. I live in Copenhagen. Nelson Mandela, for me, he was an example of heroism, love, and peace. An example that all politicians should follow. That's it.
Thank you very much for uploading that. Hello, there's another person joining me. Nice to see you. What's your name?
My name is Lindo.
Hi there. Thank you for coming. I'm just going to speak to someone elsewhere in Johannesburg, and I'll come back to you in a moment, because Cindy, you're an office administrator up in town, as people in Soweto here say. Tell us what you've been doing today.
Well, today it's been very difficult for me. I've been mourning. It felt like there was a big gap in my heart. It's something that you can't just ignore. It's been very hard. Hello?
And what will you plan to do? We're listening to you, Cindy. What will you plan to do on the funeral next Sunday?
Well, unfortunately, I won't be able to go to the funeral, but then I will be at the memorial service. We're hoping that everybody that was touched by Mandela will be there. It's been very hard to just let it go. He was a father figure to all the nation. We're all gonna miss him. We know that he's resting wherever he is. I'm heartbroken. It's not easy to just speak about him.
I can hear it.
There's a lot of memories
Cindy, I can
about
hear that
Mandela.
heartbreak.
I remember my grandma.
Sorry to talk over you, Cindy. There's a slight delay on the line. I was just going to say that I can hear the heartbreak in your voice. I apologise if I slightly cut across you. There's a bit of a delay here. Cindy, thank you very much indeed. I know that Carla, who we just spoke to, has given a number of big hugs after she spoke to us by her colleagues, and lots of South Africans are expressing their grief in different ways. Let's talk with three people who are now here with me in Soweto. I've met Nomhle. Hi there. Perhaps you can introduce yourself.
I'm Nomhle Maqetuka. I'm Celine Decana.
Nice to see all three of you. I report quite often from Soweto, and sometimes when I speak to the older generation here, they express frustration that the younger generation maybe don't understand the extent of the sacrifices that Nelson Mandela and many other people here in Soweto made. Do you think that's fair?
I think it is fair, but I think today marks a day where Mandela's fight has proved itself to us as young South Africans. We now truly understand, the struggle that he went through and the freedom that was fought for us.
Well, I think it's almost an unfair analysis, because most of the frustration is rooted from the current government's inefficiencies and things that affect social circumstances. But as far as Mandela's legacy and what he fought for and everything, we understand it to its fullest extent because we've been told stories. All our parents tell us these stories every day of our lives. We know the stories of Umzawalazo, and we appreciate the struggle. I should say we do.
I would definitely say that his struggle was not in vain. He created the Rainbow Nation, and we can enjoy the privileges we have as the Rainbow Nation, as white, black, colored people coming together, and he made that possible. I do believe we have a long way to go, but I feel that we have a lot of promise as well, and we have a lot to look forward to, provided we carry out the love that he showed and that we hold the forgiveness in our hearts. I think it's very possible that we will make it to the wonderful nation.
Good to see all three of you. Thank you very much indeed for passing here on this terribly sad day for South Africa. And while all of us really are learning more and more about what Nelson Mandela did through the stories that many people are telling about him today, I should remind you that people who live in here in Soweto often need no reminding of the sacrifices that were made. Just a little way up the road here is the corner where Hector Peterson, a young student, was shot dead when he and others who went to a school just here objected to being told they had to learn in Afrikaans. They stood up to that in 1976. Some of them were gunned down, and there are people living all around here in Soweto who still grieve for loved ones who were lost in the fight against apartheid. Hello, I'm Rosa Hawkins. Welcome back to a special edition of World Have Your Say, live from Vilakazi Street in Soweto, the place in this township to the southwest of Johannesburg where Mr. Mandela, Nelson Mandela, called home for many, many years. And if in the background you can hear a lot of noise, that's now ANC members giving speeches to an assembled crowd outside the home where Nelson Mandela lived. And if we needed any evidence of the extent of Mr. Mandela's reach and influence, we've had calls just in this half hour on BBC World News from Norway, Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, Kenya, India, Gambia, Germany, Sudan, Cameroon, Ethiopia. If I read you the whole list, I would be here all day, but do keep your messages coming. The hashtag is WHYS. Well, the message being told to the crowd here on Vilakazi Street is that if you want to produce as South Africans another Madiba, which is the affectionate name South Africans use for Nelson Mandela, you've got to struggle, you've got to continue to fight for liberation. You can probably hear the speaker behind me. Let me introduce you to Archbishop Tiber Micawber, who is here in Soweto, grew up here in Soweto, but earlier you were in the northern suburbs in Houghton seeing the Mandela family.
Yes, earlier on I was together with the president of the country, the deputy president, and the national executive of the ANC, where the president had brought a message of support and condolences to the family, and I was humbled that I had the opportunity to read a message and a prayer of condolences and comfort to the Madiba family.
And I'm interested to listen to this speaker because his emphasis on struggle is a particular one, because maybe people around the world think of Nelson Mandela as being conciliatory, of being a man who can bring different people together, but perhaps they forget he was also a fighter and someone who struggled and insisted on change.
I know the speaker retrospectively can say he was a fighter, but I think fighter in a broader sense, because he was a disciplined person. He was a principled human being who felt that no one should be demeaned, no one should be excluded, no one should actually go wanting in this world of plenty. And so those values undergirded his struggle, and those values made him impatient with those that are impatient. And that is what the speaker is also exploring, and that is who Madiba was.
And Archbishop, I've been learning a great deal about Nelson Mandela through speaking to Sowetans today about their memories of him living here. What are your memories as a boy? Were you aware of him? Were you aware of his influence?
I was aware of Madiba and his influence because when he came from the Transkei, he stayed in a township where I grew up, in Alexander Township. And when we were forcibly removed from Alexander Township to Soweto, of course, he was already in prison. But the more vivid memory that I have is after he was president, because I had the privilege of being his neighbor in Bishop's Court and of being his pastor, seeing him, constructing prayers for him and reading a prayer each time he was not well in Bishop's Court. When he was not well in Kunu, in his rural village, I went together with my family to go and read, and then back in hospital I constructed prayer and read for Madiba. And some of the stories that he has shared are quite moving. A wonderful, warm human being, and I hope those memos will be written by ordinary people like ourselves, like the speakers that are talking there.
Thank you very much for passing by, Archbishop.
You're welcome. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Now,
you.
as I was mentioning, many of you are sending in messages, either text messages, tweets, and also uploading videos. Let's have another look at some of them which have come in.
Instrumentalist from Karachi, Pakistan. Just want to share my thoughts about the passing of Nelson Mandela. The whole of my childhood and adult life, the whole world has been talking about Nelson Mandela, about the things he's done, about the things he's inspired us to do, about the man's deeds and the deeds that he's inspired us to do. I remember back in the day when there was apartheid in South Africa, and we all heard about how Mandela came out of prison. That was such a joyous moment. He taught us the triumph of victory, but he's also taught us through his defeats and through his failures. The man was legend, the man has inspired millions, not because of all his successes, but because he never gave up. He always kept trying for peace, trying to build a country, and trying to change his little world. He's changed our worlds. Goodbye, Nelson Mandela. Thank you for everything.
Tyrone, thank you very much indeed for uploading that video from Karachi. Now let's bring in another guest from New York. We can speak to Matthew, who's a South African. And Matthew, I've been looking on Twitter today, and so many South Africans outside of the country have been saying how much they want to be home. I wonder if that's how you feel.
Absolutely. In fact, one of my best friends is just coincidentally out there on a film shoot at the moment. So, I mean, we wish we were all there to pay our respects to them. But, you know, we are where we are, and we're doing exactly the same thing here in New York.
And Matthew, I understand you met Mr. Mandela.
I did, yes. In 1998, my client, Independent Newspapers, invited me down to have tea with him on an incredibly memorable day for me. Beautiful day.
Tell us more about it.
Well, very simply, we sat around, he walked through the room, and the first thing I kept thinking to myself was, say something intelligent, say something intelligent. So instead I said absolutely nothing, except for hello. And then a little bit later, I managed to sit down next to him. We chatted about, and the beautiful thing about Madiba was that you felt as though all you had to do was just be honest. You didn't have to be clever. You just had to be honest, and you could talk to him about real things. He made you feel incredibly comfortable, no matter who you were. I mean, there were a wide variety of people there. There were about 30 people, some big businessmen, and then some people that were serving the tea, and everybody felt that they could approach him. And, you know, we just chatted about the beauty of our children and kids and the magnificent blueberry pie we were eating.
Good to speak to you, Matthew. Thank you very much indeed. And some of Nelson Mandela's kids were brought up in the house where he lived, just down Vilakazi Street here in Soweto with Winnie Mandela. Now let's see another of the videos that you've sent in.
My name is Peter Gadil Mchombo from Tanzania. I'd like to pay my condolences to people of South Africa for the loss of Mr. Madiba. One thing that I remember what Nelson Mandela did, and that means a lot to me, is the fact that he was in prison for 27 years and yet came out of prison and ran for president and actually won. And he actually forgiven those people who imprisoned him for all that time and just let them go. I think that meant a lot. And actually, after his time of reign ended, he never even tried to run for president for another time. He just left for someone else to run for. That means a lot to me.
Peter, thank you very much for uploading that video from Tanzania. Now, I'm speaking to you from Soweto. That's an abbreviation of Southwest Townships. It is part of Johannesburg, but people here tend to refer to Johannesburg as town. They say, I'm going up to town. And Adam, who's a 16-year-old who lives up in Johannesburg, is with us now live. Adam, you weren't even alive when Nelson Mandela became president, but how do you feel about him?
Well, I, as most South Africans, admire Mandela immensely. I think what he's done for our country is unparalleled to many other figures. Yes, he has had some help, but Mandela is a cornerstone of our nation and our national identity.
And do you think he did enough to make your country equal?
In terms of bringing democracy, he did a hell of a lot. In terms of trying to reconcile the black, the white, and all the other different ethnic groups, he did a huge amount. Unfortunately, there's still an economic rift in this country, and that's proving to be more difficult in the long run, as you had said previously on your show. I actually had met Nelson Mandela once in person. I was quite young at the stage, about 8 years old, and he came to our school to enroll his grandson. And as I remember, his wife at the time and his now widow, Grusha Michelle, came over to each and every class, introduced herself, spoke very warmly to us. And at the very end, just after it's obviously finished his meeting, he came up, shook hands with each and every child in the school. He even asked for our names, and I think that took such courage and showed Nelson Mandela's absolute warmness and fondness for everyone, that he was able, even after this meeting, to be able to come up and see these people who we admire him greatly. And I think most of South Africa views him as this great hero. Yeah.
I think a lot of people here in Soweto would echo those sentiments. Adam, thank you very much for speaking to us. Let me just explain to those of you watching what's happening down below here. There's a group of men who are dancing and clapping and singing Mr. Mandela's name. Just a little further down the street, there's a much bigger crowd who are looking at a lorry. It's quite a contraption, actually. It's an ANC lorry, but it folds out into being a speaking platform with some big sound system speakers on top of it, and there have been a mixture of speeches and also of music being played, and they're going to have dancing and clapping. You can see just down here has really been going on all day. Now let me bring in a couple more guests here who are in Soweto, have come along to see me. Hi, do come in. Thank you very much for speaking to us live on What Have You Say. What are your names?
Smangele, Pindi, Nontlantla.
And are you from Soweto?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
And you've come down to Vilakazi Street like everyone else
to view what's happening and pay our respects.
And what have you made of what you found here?
The unity is amazing, the togetherness. Without him, we wouldn't be here. This wouldn't be here.
Yes, it's a very sad day for us, for all of us, especially because we're just from around here, so we're very close. Yes.
I would just say we're lucky to be here. It's because of him. Yeah.
Well, good to see the three of you. I'll let you get back onto the street where everyone is spending their time today. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Those of you watching, let me quickly show you a cartoon that was in the Mail and Guardian newspaper. It is published weekly here, but a lot of people buy it in their great numbers, as well as whatever other newspapers they buy, like The Citizen or Build or The Star. And there you can see its take on Mr. Mandela's passing. We'll have more on that and more comments coming in from around the world, because the list of countries where you're watching and getting in touch with us is absolutely extraordinary today, a tribute to the influence and the inspiration that Nelson Mandela brought around the world. Speak to you in a moment.
Talking about it. Let me say something.
Hi, this is Rosa Hawkins with a special edition of World Have Your Say live from Soweto, and as you can see, the crowds, which have been big frankly all day, are getting bigger and bigger as Sowetans finish their day at work. The weekend is here and they're gathering in Vilakazi Street, where Nelson Mandela lived for many years, to pay tributes to their former president who's died. So many of you are getting in touch. I can't do justice to all the messages you're sending. Yusuf's watching in Nigeria. He says he's the best hero in the world for this generation and those to come. Abdul is a Sudanese watching in Norway. He's just called to say, I'm so sad for the whole world. And Michael from Ethiopia has just called to say his life should serve as an example to all African leaders, and plenty of you watching in Africa are making that point. Now let me show you another video. Lots of you have been uploading videos. This one's from Tony, a South African.
Nearly 2 decades of politicians talk since Madiba left prison, and having heard thousands of PR agencies telling us how fantastic, how incredible, how wonderful, how exceptional everything is, from football stars to rock stars to motor cars. Let us try and remember a man that is truly iconic, and that title should be given to only those things in our lives and in those times that make iconic statements and create memorable change within communities, societies, and politics around the world.
It's worth saying that Vilakazi Street in Soweto is one of South Africa's most popular tourist destinations, because such is the interest in Nelson Mandela and the home that he lived. And I was going to chat to one of the guys who's selling curios here. Hello, sir. Sorry to interrupt you while you're going about your business.
I'm going fine.
How are your feelings today with the news about Nelson Mandela?
I feel sad, and then at the same time I feel happy, because Nelson Mandela is an old person now, and then so the age is the one that matters too much, and then from there I'll say, yeah, I feel good.
And I guess all the people who want to see his house, it's good for your business, because so many people are coming to Soweto now.
Yes, so many people are coming to Soweto, and there is a lot of support, and then we see a lot of people buying today. The business is not the same like yesterday. Today is great.
Well, nice to meet you. I'll let you get on with your work. Thank you very much indeed. Now, World Have You Say is always live here on BBC World News, so you're very welcome to Skype in, text us, however you want to get in touch. Anthony is a Ghanaian watching us in America, and Anthony, you've just called in on Skype. Thanks for doing so. What do you want to say?
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to be part of what is going on, and I'll start to say Nelson Mandela was a great man, and he will forever live. He had a big heart, and one thing I cherish about him is his power of forgiveness. My condolences go to the family of Nelson Mandela, and I would say Africa and the whole world will have to be happy to have him as a great leader who has cherished and also contributed a lot to the human dignity.
Anthony, thank you very much indeed. You're a Ghanaian. We've just had comments in from Oman, Botswana, Finland, Iraq, Afghanistan, all watching the BBC, all wanting to pay tribute to Nelson Mandela. Let's see another video. This one's come from Rosa in Kenya.
I wish African leaders were more like him because we're in a better place right now. But what I can say is that may he rest in peace. Yeah, it's sad.
Rosa, thank you very much indeed for that video. There's a lot of coming and going here on Vilakazi Street, not just where I'm broadcasting from, but all up and down where the restaurants have set out extra seating because they're anticipating thousands of people coming here as night falls in Soweto. Let's talk with three more people who have come out. It's such a sad day for South Africa, isn't it?
Yes, very much indeed. There's no word that can really describe how everyone is feeling because everyone is with joy and yet there's this sadness in your heart. And what's nice is that we get to celebrate because he's done so much for us and we're very grateful for what he's done. There's tears want to come out of my eyes right now because I can't really explain how I feel about him, and yeah.
And when I talk to people here, it's like you're talking about the loss of a relative, a close relative, rather than a politician or a leader.
It really feels like that. It feels like you were living in the same house with him, because that's how he was the father of everyone. He was a father to everyone, and he loved us all equally. And I'm really, really, really sad. I'm really, really sad, and I'm really sad. It's so emotional for me right now, because we wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for him, And I'm so heartbroken. And I hope everyone learns from him and everyone lives a selfless life. And that if you see someone struggling, help them. Because you really gain nothing from not living in unity. That's really important because together is one. There's so much that can be done.
Yeah, that's so true. And just to mention what she said, we were speaking about it earlier on, and I was telling her, I feel like I've known the guy, and I wish I could have met him. I've never met him, but the sadness that I felt when the news broke, it's unexplainable.
And do you think that some people watching around the world, when they see South Africans dancing and singing and sometimes smiling, they get the wrong impression about just how upset everyone is?
Well, yeah, they will be. It does sound a bit contradictory and look contradictory, but to us, because of him, we want to remember him for the good he's done, rather than cry that he's gone, because we can't, it's God, it's God's plan. We can't change that. And we just want to celebrate and want the whole world to know that we celebrate Utata, irregardless of his death or anything. We love him because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here.
He served his purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, so
and he left us a legacy. Look how united everyone is today, and that's a legacy that will live on for the rest of our lives.
And what you're showing us is a big gathering of people, and I should tell you that it's been overcast for most of the day, but just as we were talking, a beautiful ray of late afternoon sunshine is now bathing the several hundred people who have turned out to pay their tributes to Nelson Mandela. Thanks to all of you who've sent in yours too. I'll speak to you soon, and from all of us on World Have Your Say, goodbye.